All right. Michelle, can you put some dramatic music behind this?
Okay, calm down.
Okay. Where the mulga paddocks are wild and wide.
If you're going to do it dramatic, more Aussie. Okay. And we don't need to do all of it.
All right. Aussie. Where the mulga paddocks are wild and wide, that's where the best of stockmen ride. At the Back of Bourke. Under the dust clouds, dense and brown, moving southward by tank and town. That's where the Queensland mobs come down. Out at the Back of Bourke. Over the border to and fro, that's where the footsore swagsmen go. At the Back of Bourke. Sick and tired of the endless strife, nursing the hours of a wasted life, where all the sorrows of life am rife. Out at the Back of Bourke. Whether the plains are deep or dry, that's where the struggling teams go by. At the Back of Bourke. North and southwards in twos and thread, bullocks and horse down to the knees, wagons dip to the axle trees. Out at the Back of Bourke. That's the land of the lying light, and the cruel mirage dancing bright. At the Back of Bourke. That's where the shambling camel train crosses the western ridge and plain, loading the parry clips again. Out at the Back of Bourke. That's the lord of the wildest nights, the longest sprees and the fiercest fights. At the Back of Bourke. That's where the skies are brightest blue, that's where the heaviest work's to do, that's where the fires of hell burn through. Out at the Back of Bourke. That's where the widest floods of birth, out of the nakedest ends of earth. At the Back of Bourke. Where poor men lend and the rich ones borrow, it's the bitterest land of sweat and sorrow. If I were free, I'd be off tomorrow. Out at the Back of Bourke.
Oh, yes. Great.
Is that Aussie enough?
That was great, Michael. You did so. Welcome to Back of Bourke.
This is a podcast dedicated to unravelling the mysterious 1960s Australian television program Back of Bourke. The show has no remaining footage or information about any of the unknown number of episodes, only confusing and at times outright contradictory information regarding the writers, directors, and overall narrative. We are currently entirely dependent on the memories of its previous viewers and dedicated sleuths.
And this week, we are going to be discussing the many conspiracies surrounding the intricately connected TV show Back of Bourke and the physical location of Back of Bourke. There is an idea floating around that the slang Back of Bourke or Back o' Bourke originated from the TV show. This is fundamentally incorrect and easily provable.
The poem read at the beginning of the episode, titled At the Back o' Bourke and written by W.H. Ogilvie, is one of the first known publications of the phrase and appeared in the Western Herald and Darling River Advocate in 1897.
Now, the term Back of Bourke has been adopted by the collection of towns that make up the constellation around this part of New South Wales. But this was not the case before the last 20 years. We have spent days on Trove reading old papers and magazines from 1897 onwards. Should we actually explain what Trove is for those who are not nerds like us?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hold on, I'm going to check what Google says.
Yeah, find the tagline.
Trove is the place to explore all things Australian. It is a single point of entry to a treasure trove of artifacts, curiosities, and stories.
No. Marketing nonsense. It's basically just a big database filled with old newspapers.
An amazing big database.
An amazing database.
Yeah.
Agreed, yes.
It's easy to assume that Back of Bourke is a colloquialism to describe an unknown faraway location like Whoop Whoop or an undefined landscape of towns in New South Wales. However, in all the papers we have read, there seems to be a strange distinction between Bourke and Back of Bourke, such as an aeroplane travel advertisement from 1946, and I quote, "They come from Perth, the tip of Cape York, and Back of Bourke, for the A.N.A. network provides daily service not only between capital cities, but to inland towns hard to reach by surface methods," end quote.
A holiday announcement from 1954 from which the girls never returned from their time away. Quote, "Two Gosford girls, Jill Davis of Greenpoint and Judith Potts, leave at the weekend for a holiday in Back of Bourke," end quote. And a radio program detailing Back of Bourke as a separate and specific location. We have been through hundreds of newspapers, and the idea that Back of Bourke is its own entity is becoming, well, I am and have never been convinced, but there are some compelling arguments when all of the information is gathered together.
Agreed. There also seems to be many reports of strange weather anomalies around Bourke, or specifically the Back of Bourke, such as in notes from the Sydney Mail and the New South Wales Advertiser in 1899. And I quote, this is a long one, "Dry weather is sadly needed. That is the beginning not of an English news item, but of a telegram from an Australian town delegate sent last week. To get such a message from a country town where the cry is generally for rain and more rain is quite startling. But delegate is high country, and it illustrates one of the anomalies of our climate and the extent of our country when such a message could be written in a province which includes the Back of Bourke," end quote.
We will make sure to post all the links to the articles we have referenced in the show notes and on the website. Here are some other recorded mentions of Back of Bourke as a physical location. Honeymooning couple that did not speak, cattle dogs who were rounding up sheep to feast on, ghost sightings, a biologist visiting the Back of Bourke to gather information, and all of their notes about Bourke are stolen, a man appearing out of nowhere to shoot at police officers, a travelling party dogged by bad luck, and a threatening birthday announcement.
Yeah, that article about the couple from Back of Bourke not speaking is so weird.
So weird, right?
Yeah.
The quote from that one, I'll bring it up. Just give me a sec. Here. There was a honeymoon couple staying at the hotel from Back of Bourke. They never spoke at meals. He always had roast beef for dinner and simply wallowed in Worcestershire sauce.
That's how I like to wallow. We have desperately tried to find someone that worked on Back of Bourke, with absolutely no luck. However, in an interview with TV Week in 1984, host of Back of Bourke, name redacted of course, is quoted, "I will not discuss that show. I will not say the name. I know for me, and most others involved or associated with that thing, we have not been... something rooted itself. We will forever be followed, and that is the last I will say on the matter."
Stemming from what very much seems like a warning from a possible actor, we have also discovered that several crimes ranging from misdemeanor to felonies, as well as general malfeasance, have been attributed to the show's existence.
Most of the following stories we have only added thanks to you, the listeners.
Thank you to all of you who wrote in after last week's episode and told us of your own abnormal and out-of-the-ordinary Back of Bourke occurrences.
So, yeah, some strange ones. In 2001, a media professor from the Deakin University, known for studies in modern sci-fi, moved to the US. He started work at the University of California, and after 3 weeks, the students noted something was off. Quote, "He was jumpy. He would stop in the middle of lectures and look over his shoulder," end quote. After 3 months, he stopped turning up for classes. On the 21st of July, shots rang out through the professor's complex. The police found he had sprayed the room with bullets, seemingly firing at something running from room to room. Unfortunately, 2 of the stray rounds hit and killed 2 students sharing the neighbouring apartment. He turned the final shot on himself. And before the killings took place, the professor's friends noted that he regularly, then constantly, spoke about an oft-forgotten television show, Back of Bourke.
This is a voice note from a listener, Julia. We asked her if we could play her recollection.
Okay, I don't remember the show, but when I listened, I totally remembered this thing happening when I was about 13, and this would have been 1994. So in Devonport, Tasmania, where I grew up, there was this lovely lady named Carol Thomas, and she was found running just in the main street. My aunt was actually the one who found her. My aunt was Carol's best friend, and at the time she described Carol as, hysterical, to the police and the local newspaper. And as my aunt still tells the story, Carol was pleading for help from several shoppers and customer service staff, and alternating between screaming about being followed and it doesn't matter which way I go, and every step they get closer. She ultimately attacked someone, scratching them with her newly done nails before falling and hitting her head on the floor. The weird thing was, when she woke up in the hospital the same night of the incident, she seemed totally fine. She had no memory of the incident, and then she died in the hospital 2 days later. Her daughter Sarah, which was the same age as my sister, around 8 at the time that Carol died, she told my auntie that in this week leading up to her death, Carol was repeatedly putting on a VHS, which Carol told Sarah was this great show from when she was a kid. But when she put on the video, it was just static. And she'd watch it for an hour while Sarah went out and played. Do you think it's related?
And in the 80s, within the Midwest USA, Trevor Kellerman was a rare survivor of a lightning strike. He was covered in Lichtenberg figures, these repetitive fractal-like scars across his arms and chest. His family said he would sporadically, every couple of weeks or so, stop what he was doing, even in mid-conversation, and start scratching hard at the figures, sometimes removing his shirt, even in the snow. And they said he would mumble to himself, "Back of Bourke, Back of Bourke." I think that's how it's meant to be said. Over and over again. And sometimes he would ask, "Why are they glowing?" The family wasn't ever sure why that happened. Trevor's story appeared as a case study of unexplained trauma phenomenon in a famous Oliver Sacks-esque psychologist's book.
That is definitely one of my favourites.
Mine too. 1992, in Melbourne, there's a deli owner and...
Are you sure they call them milk bars in Victoria?
Yeah, deli, milk bar, whatever. Well, according to his employees, started seeing weird shadows following him around the shop. He would spot these imaginary creatures in the shoplifting mirrors, and one day out of nowhere he awkwardly walked up to all reflective surfaces in the deli and then the local shopping street, examined himself in them, would repeatedly yell, "Go back to Bourke!" and then he would punch or headbutt the glass. He was taken to hospital with a concussion and after getting better had no recollection of the incident.
Wild. Similarly, in Brisbane in 1997, a woman was agitated in a supermarket. She kept protesting about being kept there, saying she needed to get specifically out of Bourke. Staff tried to usher her towards the exits, but she yelled at them to stay away and insisted that the exits were not there. She was removed by security. Once she was out of the supermarket, she calmed, not understanding why she was so frightened.
And just as a surprise to you, Alice, I have a recorded call with our dad who had this to say.
I bet he loved that.
Yeah, he loves it. He's a star. Say again what you just told me.
Well, there once was an Australian racehorse that named Back of Bourke. Had an unprecedented run of tragedy. 2 separate jockeys have been thrown from her. One survived with broken ribs. The other sadly died.
There are many more stories we have found. These are simply the most compelling and profoundly strange.
The memory boards and Back of Bourke threads are flooded with people synonymizing the show as a harbinger of malevolence. As in feelings of being followed, characters from episodes being spotted in everyday life, not being able to leave a place even though they want to, and many more. And by the way, inbox is full of loads of, some super creepy emails.
We were warned.
Warned? What do you mean?
Yeah, don't you remember Clara's conversation with me in episode 1 about the threatening emails and superfluously violent comments?
Yeah, I just didn't expect so many, or any really.
Yeah, but she made statements to us about the current webmaster. Can you play that bit back for us, Michelle?
Well, it's a funny thing, a terrible thing, really.
Oh.
He's got so many threatening emails. He gets threats, obtuse comments that are seemingly incoherent, things like that.
But your email address is still up there. Don't you get that stuff?
I did. I mean, I still do.
Another legend related to Back of Bourke has been described as the Bourke between channels. There has been chatter on multiple platforms of seeing a Back of Bourke related image not on any actual channel. It has been agreed that the image usually appears for between a few seconds to up to a couple of minutes when adjusting an aerial, or in these more modern times, in the preview when selecting an episode from an Australian streaming platform.
The image does not show episodes of the television show, just a continuous static shot of the Welcome to Bourke sign. Static, yet not still. There's moving vegetation, dirt storms, and weather changes. No proof has been recorded by anybody claiming to have seen the secret channel.
We have read through thousands of comments on the web ring from those who believe they have seen this mysterious channel, not channel. Some posters have mentioned seeing a blurred, silhouetted figure walking across the screen towards the viewer.
Sounds a bit silly. We had a chat with, he's like a television technician, Paul Haver, to see if this is even a possibility. Well, that is what some people are claiming.
Yeah, well, it would have been possible in the old days, initial home screens corrupted by a pirate broadcast. Maybe in the 50s and 60s, definitely in the 70s and 80s. And, well, thinking about it, there were some more recent ones too. So, actually, yes, it is possible. Much trickier now, far less likely, but I don't know if I claim impossible. You heard of Max Headroom?
Vaguely?
Prime example of how this would be accomplished.
Okay, can you explain what happened?
Sure. In 1987, I think, a guy dressed up in a mask of a character from American TV named Max Headroom hijacked the signals of 2 television stations in Chicago. He did some weird stuff, calling people liberals and giving the finger. Gave me the creeps, to be honest. But the interesting part was how he did it. The hijacker used a more powerful microwave transmission to the station's broadcast towers than the station was sending themselves. Therefore, it overrode what the station was broadcasting. Another one happened around the same time where a guy broadcast a message on HBO complaining that he was paying too much for the cable channel.
Wow. Okay, so it happened then. Has it happened more recently? Can it happen now?
I know it happened in Russia in 2021 or maybe it was 22. It was an interesting news story at the time. A group broadcasting Russia's war crimes during their Victory Day programming, but I cannot tell you much about how they did it. I'm not familiar with Russian broadcasting system, go figure.
Yeah.
But perhaps they're still using an analog system. That's why it's highly improbable that it would be happening in Australia since we switched to a digital system. If you do want to do something like you're describing now, you would have to do it directly at the source, from inside the station.
Perhaps the most infamous Back of Bourke conspiracy is the ritual. According to internet legend, there is a way to get to the creepy Back of Bourke depicted in the television program.
We have tried to find where this ritual started, but like all internet lore, it's difficult to determine the source. One Reddit user, who we are attempting to contact via DM, says that it was published in a book or research journal by a well-known sociologist in the 1950s.
Unlike most online lore, the ritual does not alter and is relatively simple. You have to physically be in the town of Bourke. You must start at the railway station at dusk and walk down Richard Street, which is also known as Mitchell Highway, towards the centre of town. And when you get to the corner of Central Park, you turn around and walk back to the train station. It doesn't appear to matter what side of the road you walk on, but you must always stay on the same side and not cross over. And then you keep walking back and forth between the station and the park, over and over and over. At a point, after what may be minutes or hours or over a day, you'll feel somebody following you on your way back from the park to the station. You continue walking, and when you reach the station, you can finally turn around. And when you turn around, you'll be in the other Bourke, the Back of Bourke. If you have any information about Back of Bourke, please get in touch with us. The link to the podcast website is in the show notes, and you can email us at bob@3pwidget.com.
A note that these episodes were recorded and researched on the stolen and unceded lands of the Ghana people. The names of some of the locations discussed are colonial, and we understand and apologise for the atrocities that were committed during all the times from which we quote.